Hello, this is from Dirt We Grow. I am Stephanie Allen. So wonderful to have you here today. Where we're going to have a chat with a grassroots candidate running in Arkansas's 4th district. Now, before I lose you, because you don't live in Arkansas and you're wondering why this would apply to you, well, their policies are so important to hear because, as we know, the policies that we have in place currently are not working for the people. So the more of them we get in there, the more chance we have of getting bills and policies passed that will actually help the people. And that includes people in your area. So please stick around, give it your attention, and give it a like, give it a share. As always, it would be appreciated if you have not already to hit the subscribe or the follow button. Here we go. My esteemed guest today is Mr. James Russell, running for Arkansas's 4th congressional district. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I love to be able to provide maybe even one or two more eyes and ears on you guys because it's so important what you're doing, and so I do appreciate you, and I thank you so much for what you're doing. Are you
Thank you.
so on that note, are you like a career politician, or are you just doing this in the spur of the moment?
Well, I wouldn't say career politician. This is my second foray into politics. I ran for governor in the 2021-22 cycle, but that's been it. That's like my entire experience. I have educational background in political, legal, and ethical theory from philosophy as part of my
Ethical,
legal.
political, ethical. I had to work that out in my brain there. I didn't understand. Okay.
No, I got into it as a result of that, over the course of my studies, and in the wake of September 6th in 2021, it was okay. I can't just sit on the sidelines. I need to be more actively involved.
Well, as I said, I applaud you and I'm wishing you the best of luck. Now, to hopefully help you get there or to get you there, let's put that out there. Tell the people about you. So, you have a background in healthcare.
I've been in healthcare or healthcare adjacent for the past 25 years. Started out doing physician credentialing for the state medical board here in Arkansas. After that, transitioned over. I began working at Arkansas Children's Hospital as a medical staff coordinator. That ended up putting me in a lot of the executive committee meetings where all the upper level decisions are made. And the one that caught my attention was the bioethics committee. And for anyone that's not familiar with it or anything, bioethics is what I explained to everybody is that's where medical science and legal studies run headlong into each other and find out that they don't speak the same language. And that's a talent I've always had is taking two separate things or two people that are having trouble communicating and helping them make sense of it. So I thought, okay, well, this might be a really good fit for me. Went to UCA, University of Central Arkansas up here in Conway, worked with an advisor, built a joint pre-med, pre-law program because I wanted to get the hard sciences and all that kind of stuff, the medical side, and then also the legal. Well, but on the legal side, I went the philosophy route rather than the political science route. And that exposed me to legal theory, political theory, ethical theory, and got a deeper understanding of the nature of where we derive the rule of law, where authority comes from, that type of thing. It was a different understanding than you would from a political science route where it's much more statistical and historical and everything else. Now, while I was in the middle of those studies, my wife beat me to the punch. She actually completed her graduate program in counseling psychology while I was doing my undergrad. And so we opened up an outpatient mental health clinic. And that's what we've been doing for the past 12 years now. We've actually owned and operated New Dawn Counseling here based in Little Rock, serving the entire state through telehealth, especially in the wake of COVID. That was one of the big expansions for telehealth. A lot of offices, they're worried about, well, what's the bottom dollar? And for
Mhm.
me, it was always, you know, take care of the person, the money will follow. That's not a big deal. I sleep better at night doing it that way than I do chasing every last dime. So
Well, that makes you a decent human being, which is few and far between, it seems nowadays. So, for those of the folks in Arkansas's 4th district, please tell them what you have planned for them.
And one is getting the bottom line. One is just getting some actual representation back in office. I know that our current representative, Mr. Westerman, he's been in there for 5 terms, 10 years. He's coming up on his sixth. And so far, I have been to all but 3 of the counties in my district. My district covers 33 counties and then part of 2 other.
Wow.
Yeah, it is geographically one of the largest districts in the entire country. It is the largest in Arkansas.
Was that affected at all by the redistricting?
Not the most recent
I
round. We went through that one in
Oh,
2021
what it
where they
is.
redid things.
Oh, okay.
So I've been traveling around, and so far, out of all those counties, between the primary section and the general election, since there's only 4 counties that I haven't been to yet, and they're already
Mm.
on the book to go to. Like it's been hit everywhere. And out of everyone I have spoken to, the hundreds of people, time and time again, I have so far only met 5 people in the entire district who have ever met or spoken to their representative in person, on the phone, anything that have gotten anything more than the form letter response by email when they contact the office. 5 people out of that many who have actually spoken to them is kind of absurd.
No,
Like,
it's definitely it's horrendous.
yeah, yeah, it is. We are one of those areas where our not only our representatives, but our senators, basically everyone that represents us at the federal level, they have declined to host any town halls or to appear at any. They show up when there's a photo op, they show up when there's a high dollar donor dinner, for they show up for events where they have control over who's in the crowd, but they're not willing to show up in front of their constituents to answer and be accountable to questions. So for me, that's the biggest thing for the fourth district is to be the person that you're being represented because you know me personally. I don't want to spend the majority of my time in DC. Like I will be there while we are in session, but once it's over with, I'm not running a high dollar campaign. I don't have any big dollar donors. I don't have, corporate support. And I don't think we should. Campaign finance reform is one of the big things I want to actually push for. I'm a member of a group that one of our big things is overturning Citizens United. But it is a matter of spending more time in the actual communities and going and traveling around to talk to the people to find out what do you need, because I could sit there and talk about my ideas all day long and I can come up with solutions, but at the end of the day, if I'm not having a conversation with the people who are living day to day under these circumstances, I have no idea what they need. So I have to engage in those conversations, and that's one of the things we've been doing. We're going to places where they've not seen a congressman ever, it just period, because nobody has bothered to go down to their communities.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as horrendous as I said it was that that's happening, it's so normalized though that we don't even realize that it's not supposed to be that way anymore almost, It's
Exactly.
just
And we see the down chain effects of it, especially here in Arkansas, where we have the lowest voter turnout in the entire nation. We
mm.
get barely over 50% of the eligible voters actually participating.
I gotta ask you a question. Are you one of those people that are mad at people for not voting because they're tired of voting for the lesser of two evils? Or how do you feel about that?
No, I have run the gamut on the emotions of that. I've been one of those where I was angry at them for not and everything else. I've gotten to the point now where I don't feel any anger towards them because I understand it. Because this sense of apathy that has taken over, it's recognizing that that's by design. We talked about gerrymandering early on, and we've discussed about the fact that all of these things have been normalized. The absence of
Mhm.
our representatives from our communities being normalized. That's the kind of thing that leads to people being disenfranchised. So it's not on accident, and it's not something that you can really blame them for. We are a product of our environment, and when this is what you have lived in and how you have survived, especially when you're living under harsh economic conditions to begin with and struggling to make ends meet, you don't necessarily have the additional bandwidth to engage in that kind of thought process or to for it to occur to you. You're too busy with the simple reality of just trying to exist day to day. So
Mm.
I like I said, I've been through the being angry at and why aren't you and whatever like that. And it's finally gotten to the point of like, you know what? I get it. Now, are there things that I think that we should do to aid that process? Yes, 100%. Like I am a strong advocate for automatic voter registration. Like that shouldn't be a barrier to it. The only people complaining otherwise are ones that have a very specific agenda that they're looking to push. So,
So what else is going on in Arkansas? Is it Arkansans?
the big debate there's two different references. Arkansans is the most common one. But I have heard people who refer to themselves as Arkansasiers. That seems to be an older, more archaic version, and it doesn't really flow naturally for me. So yeah, I just Arkansan. Yeah,
Arkansans, I'll go with that one.
yeah. Obviously, one of the biggest ones that we're wrestling with is economic development. We are not we're not as productive. We have lost a lot of the jobs that we used to have, especially in the fourth district. We've lost a lot of them. They've been outsourced, they've moved away, things like that.
Why is it that you think that is being the biggest district to me?
Well, one of the catches is we're one of the biggest districts because we are so heavily rural, and we've had a lot of the jobs that were traditionally had here either got outsourced or consolidated into larger areas, or, and this is one of the big ones, you've had populations where the younger people, as they're born, they come up through the school system, they're leaving the smaller rural communities to go forward to the bigger cities to where there are more opportunities and to where there is more to do. And that results in a decline in the workforce. And once that workforce declines, things shut down because it's not sustainable. Now, you compound that with the fact that we've had declining education standards over the past at least 20 years. I could probably dig in deeper, but that's a conservative estimate. You run into this thing where even if we're trying to bring in new industry to the area, we don't have a workforce that's educated to the point of being able to engage in those jobs. So it's really this mix of economic depression, lack of opportunity, lack of economic mobility, and all of that, to me at least, is very much rooted in the lack of access to proper education. We've got they consolidated school systems. They've defunded. We recently had what they call the Learns Act go into effect with the voucher system, where now we've got public funding going towards private institutions. We have vast problems in our
Mhm.
education system
Mhm.
as a whole. And unfortunately, it's not one that it's that's a hard thing to campaign on because I'm running for Congress. It's a 2-year term. This isn't something that's going to get fixed in 2 years. This is something
Right.
that everyone has to make the choice to fix and is going to be something done over a long period. But if we don't have leaders who are willing to step up and at least call out what the problem is, then we're never going to address it.
How hard is it for you? What do you have to do to be on the ballot? Signatures, money?
That's one of the things is I am on the Democratic ballot. I was the Democratic nominee. I won the primary here, so it
Oh,
was a
nice.
monetary. Yeah, it was a monetary thing. There was a filing fee. You have to sign off on the pledge and take the fee, but it was a reasonable one. I took to run for Congress as a Democrat here in Arkansas. The fee for this cycle was $1,750.
Not
Done.
bad.
Like no, it's enough of a barrier that not just everybody's going to run. You're not going to inundate it with, candidates that shouldn't really be on the ballot to begin with. We have had trouble with that in the past, where
Mhm.
people were not properly vetted, and that becomes its own issue. But it's enough to show intent and to be a barrier.
Well, congratulations on getting on the ballot. I
I
mean,
appreciate it.
of the 25, 30 grassroots candidates that I have spoken with, I only know Winston Jordan. Are you familiar with Mr. Winston Jordan in Florida?
No, I'm
Jersey,
not.
sorry.
No, I
Yeah.
wish I was.
I kind of have a family of you guys now, so please join the family.
I
Stay in touch. I invited you to a group. I think it's a really great idea that you guys kind of share ideas maybe, and because the more of you there are that are successful, the more will help you be successful, I think.
Right.
You need more of you guys that are in there to actually get anything accomplished. So,
Yep.
and I say you guys, I mean, it's not like a party, so I don't know what to call it. And I
Yeah.
think, honestly, let me get your opinion because you're the one running. I feel like that in itself is daunting for people that haven't been too familiar with this whole and let's just call it third party voting because, here's RD. What you got? What you want? Which one? So it's a little daunting, I feel like, to think of even wasting their vote on a third party.
I am certainly one of the people that I don't feel like any vote is ever wasted. You're making your
Hmm,
voice
okay.
heard regardless. But I have, I just turned 54 years old not long ago, and I have absolutely for the every election I can remember in my life, it has always been, well, you're voting for the lesser of two evils. That's always been the case. And again, that's another reason why I wanted to run. Like, I'm tired of voting for the lesser of two evils. I want a candidate I believe in. And if I can't find that candidate, I'm going to go out there and try to be that candidate. So,
Mm, beautiful. Good
um,
for you. I love it.
thank you. No, it's funny because I've got a really close friend who he wasn't involved in politics until just a few years ago. We sat down, we were having breakfast together, and he's like, "No, it's one of the great things about Arkansas is like I know how the vote's going to go, so I can vote third party, I can vote my conscience because it's not going to matter. They're going to do what they want to do." And I kind of looked at him sideways, and I'm like, "You can." Like I'm not gonna argue that, but your reasoning behind it, I'm gonna argue with a little bit. You can make a difference here. Um, and I say it's funny to me because he went from that to he has now run as a Democrat in a couple of cycles. He's been involved in the political party. He's had a drastic shift
Okay.
in his view over the past, the ensuing 15 years now. And
So what can the people do to help ourselves through you guys?
I mean, of course, my campaign manager will crucify me if I don't say, donate, help the campaign out. They're always welcome. I don't need to downplay it. It's just I am a grassroots candidate, so I do everything I can on the smallest budget possible. I do that as a business owner. We opened our business up without going into debt. We didn't take on any debt. I don't operate from that kind of mindset. So um, it was if we can afford it, we do it, and if we can't afford it, we save up until we can. I take in that kind of mindset on anything that we do. Some people know about me. We haven't really necessarily gotten into, but I'm a former performing musician as well. So I also have that mindset from touring where you go out there and you make it work. You do
Mm,
what you can on a shoestring budget to reach the most people you can. That kind of work ethic and that kind of attitude very much still fuels everything. So support is always wonderful, but I recognize too that support isn't always monetary.
mm,
Doing things like what we're doing right here, this is massive. This is spreading the word about the campaign. Anyone that shares this with their friends, that spreads the word about it. Every time someone has a conversation about the campaign or about the change in tone in general. I mean, the number of people that have been shocked that there's a progressive candidate running in deep red southern Arkansas, just people finding that out has been
yeah.
massive. So I always tell people never ever underestimate the power of simply discussing things. Word of mouth is more valuable than any advertising anybody could buy. And without realizing it, when you do that, you are donating to the campaign. You're donating your time and your energy into talking about it. And that goes a long way. Sharing links on social media. The other one is encouraging your friends to check their voter registration. Find out, educate themselves on what's going to be on the ballot, things like that. Just encouraging people to get involved in the process in general, not strictly with my campaign, to the ways they're going to help with society in general. That's the larger goal always.
I was gonna say that's a huge thing to point out because people are like, "I don't live in Arkansas. What do I care?" It
Yeah.
does. It helps all of us. Give everybody your socials, and then I've got one more big question for you I hope you're ready for.
We're on YouTube. We're on Blue Sky. I need to be on there more frequently. I tell everybody I'm not on. I refuse to call it by what he renamed it. I'm not on Twitter, and of course we're on Facebook and Instagram because Meta is almost unavoidable at this point. All of the links are available except for Blue Sky on my website.
Check it out, go find them, and then that might lead you to other candidates that, may be in your area. Because I understand not everybody's in Arkansas District 4. One more huge question for you here, sir, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Now, obviously, we know it's hard to trust politicians, right, nowadays? Why should we trust you?
Because what you see is absolutely what you get. I know a lot of people say that like all the time, but people who know me, people who interact with me on a regular basis, anyone who meets me, I am not one of the traditional polished politicians. I am not one of the ones that there's no speech rehearsals, there's no focus groups, there's no worrying about what polls well or anything else. Like I am genuinely just your average everyday citizen who wants a better society as a whole. So I am trying to do my part to help with that. But there's no agenda. There's no I'm not looking at this as trying to get into politics to make a buck. I'm not in there because I want power. I'm in there because I recognize that power needs to be kept in check, and the people who are responsible for that are failing at that job horribly. I want this position because of the good it can do, but I do not want to get in there and maintain power forever. If the people of Arkansas decide that I'm doing a good enough job that they want me in a different role, then I am more than willing to entertain that. But I'm not looking for it on my own. Not to name names, but I'm sorry, Mitch McConnell has had way too much impact on my entire life than any one person ever should.
Amen, okay? Folks, let me just tell you, the passion that is coming through from this man right now is making me wanna move to Arkansas District 4 to vote for you, I swear. And I wish you the best of luck, I really do. And I do appreciate you being here today and joining me.
Thank you so much. It's been great. And I will absolutely be watching for the TikTok live invites.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to it. And again, I appreciate it beyond words. This is great.
To everybody out there, thank you for coming, and be sure to find Mr. Russell. So please do your research. Do the work for yourselves. No one's coming to save us except these nice folks that are running without the money, so they need us just as much as we need them. So until next time, please remember to keep asking questions, keep seeking truth, keep growing from the dirt. Remember that even in the darkest places, hope can take root.